Welcome back on the AM show. We delve into our big stories now, starting with the very first. And some military officers stormed Garu in the Upper East region on Sunday to subject civilians, particularly men, to corporal punishment and physical assault, resulting in many injuries. It remains unclear still what exactly triggered the incident, but the members of parliament for Garu and Tempani have condemned the attack. We'll be talking about this on the show as we engage our guests. Adib Sani joins the conversation. He's a security analyst. Adib, a very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Benjamin. How are you?
I am well. It's a pleasure to have you join this conversation. I would just like to find out for you, I mean, this wouldn't be the first time we've heard of a similar incident. I was speaking this morning with Rise Ghana's Awal Ahmed Kariyama, and he spoke about some of the antecedents. He spoke about youth with WhatsApp groups and putting things on there that sometimes stoke these tensions. He spoke about attacks on national security or threats of saying, and he spoke about munitions, which these young people have. All of these thrown in the fray creates the escalating situations we are seeing. But for you, from where you sit, what could have triggered such an incident?
Well, thank you so much. Thank you to your producers. I think there is a bit of a gap, a disconnect between state security on one hand and the people on the other hand. And it is further exacerbated by the spate of misinformation and disinformation that is coming up from that area. Look, we have Facebook pages belonging to the two sides of the conflict where pictures of certain individuals are posted and threats made to the effect that we know who you are, we have your picture, and we are going to come after you. And Benjamin, believe it or not, such people are in the end killed, okay? In some cases, there are some individuals on the ground who are able to disseminate false information about the movements of certain persons they think are working closely with the other side, okay? And within minutes, they are able to galvanize people to engage in some of these acts of lawlessness. And I do agree with Awal. The level of proliferation of small arms and light weapons, especially military-grade rifles, including AR-15s, M16s, AK-47 in the area, is quite worrying. In some cases, the weapons they hold, the civilians, is even more potent than that of the military. And there has been a consistent pattern. I'm not in any way, Benjamin, let me be clear about this. I'm not in any way justifying the use of violence against civilians by security services, but there has been a consistent pattern of violence that included death of security services or agents perpetrated by civilians. And I have quite a number of cases I could mention. For example, on the 23rd of January this year, a police constable, her name is Regina Angelo, was shot at Habitat at Kingande in around the Boku area. Then on the 3rd of April 2023, an immigration officer, which became national news, was also shot at the Boku Municipal Assembly opposite the Ambitious filling station. Then on 16th March 2022, military men also came under attack at Bari, Wabula. Then on 7th December 2021, according to my sources on the ground, a defense intelligence vehicle was set ablaze at Sabon Gari police checkpoint. Then on the 21st September 2023, a police escort was attacked at Bewa College of Education, Pusiga. Then on 13th May 2022, an ambulance was attacked at Bazua, Binduri. Other attacks against military, police personnel, and even personnel from the intelligence agencies has been well documented. And it is perpetrated by certain motivated individuals on the ground who feel they have more firepower. And I think it is something we really need to start talking about and to see how we can progressively harness the relationship between the people and, of course, the security services. And mind you, these acts of violence perpetrated by these armed youth is not only against the security services. In some cases, it's against their own people. And I always say that these security officers you see there, most of them are not from that area. They have families in other parts of the country, but they are there to ensure your safety. Okay, and government spends a whole lot of money that could have been used to develop the area and to create jobs for young people. But because people are hell-bent on killing people, we have these officers come in to stop it. So now if you are attacking them, it creates a very difficult situation for them. Notwithstanding, violence against innocent people is not the answer.
Let me come in with a sequence of some of these attacks, because as we see in the Ghanaian Publisher today, there have been increasing reports of attacks on security officials, which makes it even more worrying, doubly or triply worrying in the Upper East region. On January 23, 2023, a police constable was shot dead in Gigande, and on April 3, 2023, an immigration officer was killed in Boku. On September 21, 2023, a police escort was shot at Bewa College of Education, Pusiga, while 5 national security operatives were attacked in Garu, like we're talking about now, on October the 24th, which led to this latest, apprehension of some of them and, unfortunately, beating, assault in there. But you also look at the sequence of events. You've also mentioned some of what has happened. Why do you think this continues unabated? Because they followed these national security personnel who were there for counter-terrorism activity, all the way even to the police station. And even there, they were shooting. They wanted to kill them. Special arrangements had to be made to be able to retrieve these 5 personnel, the team. That tells you that these people are simply not afraid and they are not willing to comply with the security officials. Now, the question is, what could lead them to come to such a state, a mental state where they are not even apprehensive of the presence of security officials?
Benjamin, I understand. When they confronted the national security agents, they introduced themselves, they identified themselves. They were taken to the police station, and I have seen videos that nobody has seen. I have seen videos that are not out there. So
what do the videos reveal?
A very, very bad situation in which shots were fired directly into the police station to kill. Those are the videos I've seen. Directly to kill. These were not warning shots. These were not shots that were fired into the sky. They were fired directly into the police station whilst people were taking cover. And guess what? One of the officers there belongs to the tribal group. I wouldn't want to mention. I hate mentioning the ethnic groups in that area. Okay? And so when
you say he belongs to the ethnic group that was conducting the assault, or the ethnic group you don't have to mention, but you didn't complete your sentence.
It's difficult for me to tell which ethnic group was conducting the assaults, but rather what I'm saying is the ethnic group that is in that area.
Right.
Okay, that is the most dominant in that area. So the thing is, a lot of this has to do with impunity. And I've always said that over and over again. It looks like we've given up on Buku and his environs, okay? A lot of these killings happen and nobody is held to account because the area somewhat is vast. So people staged all manner of attacks and they dissipate into thin air. Nobody knows where they are going to. Secondly, the issue of proliferation of small arms and light weapons gives them that sense of invisibility, that Rambo feeling, that makes them think they can confront even the military head on and wouldn't fear anything.
I am told they are able to do this because they are wielding, munitions. That it's very similar to what the national security and other operatives are wielding. So, in some instances, you hear that it is only respect for the uniform, but that they don't respect them that much because what they are wielding, they also have.
In some cases, they have more potent rifles than even that of the security agents. Okay, gives them that sense of invisibility. That is why they are able to confront them head on without fearing anything. Okay, so going forward, I think we need to do more. And I've always indicated the Small Arms Commission. Look, it is an opportunity for us to use the Small Arms Commission to stop these weapons from coming in. Our actions has been superficial. What we do is swoops, the military going in and seizing weapons. But guess what, Benji? The following week, more would come in. So until we make that deliberate, conscious attempt to prevent these weapons from coming in, we would always go for the swoops, and the weapons would keep coming.
Adib, so you're basically saying that our plan of action as of this point is not working because, like you're saying, we keep seeing caches of munitions in these parts of the country and likely in other parts of the country. You mentioned the small arms, group. Over the years, they've even proffered amnesty for people with arms. Practically nobody goes. And I was going to ask about the how these people lay their hands on munitions, but you've already started talking about it. They get it from different parts of, the sub-region, and we already know about the insurgency in here, the insurgent threat. How else can we tackle it?
Through intelligence, and for the first time in the history of the country, the Small Arms Commission, and in fact, Ghana is the only country that has done this in sub-Saharan, in West Africa, deploying small arms officials to the various border crossings. Elubu, Hamile, they have offices in Tema, Tamale, Bolga, and so many other areas, volatile areas, particularly between Ghana and its neighbors. So we are able to prevent these arms from coming in. On the other hand, I think we need to build trust because one of the major issues is the lack of trust. And now we have see something, say something. How do we harness that trust so people would be willing to give out more information to the security services? So in case you see, persons engaged in the trafficking of these weapons, you will be willing enough to report it to the appropriate authorities. Because the thing is, a lot of these trafficking is done by a sophisticated network of arms traffickers. And we have criminal organizations in that area who are taking advantage of the insecurity to engage in all manner of criminality, including human trafficking.
Pardon the intervention one more time. You talk about sophisticated networks. I agree. Terrorist cells and all of that use those. But we also have what is supposed to be, if it is not, a sophisticated security operation. In recent times, we've had talk about the police being given this and that. In fact, I've just been looking at that story where our president has commissioned 105 EU military vehicles, everything from 13 Land Cruiser pickups, 10 GM Sierra Toyota Land Cruisers, Toyota single cabins, and Chevrolet Silverado Sierra pickups, among others that have been given to us. So are you saying that our security officials are not sophisticated enough, both in terms of munitions and in terms of the practice, general policing and security, to be able to tackle this menace?
Benji, I think if they were not doing their work well, you and I wouldn't have been able to have this interview. We would have been in a state of insecurity in the country. Okay. A lot has been done, I must say. I mean, I am a fierce critic, of the security services when they do the wrong things. I'm a fierce critic of the security managers themselves, okay? But let's give them what they are due. A lot of work has been done. However, a lot more still needs to be done. There's been a lot of work, especially with respect to intelligence gathering. Like you rightly mentioned at the beginning of the interview, those national security officers who were nearly killed, had it not been the timely intervention of the military, were on counter-terrorism activities. So they were actually there to help the people. And for the people to turn their back against them in this fashion is something I find really unfortunate. And one more thing, the security services cannot do it alone. I mean, the fact that you and I are having this discourse this morning means you and I are doing our bit. So we get stakeholders to understand the harsh realities and with proper ways to deal with it as well. The ordinary citizen has a role to play because the threat we are facing from, it's not everything we say because we wouldn't want to create mass hysteria. We wouldn't want to get Ghanaians agitated as it would have rippling repercussions on our economy, etc. But the threat is real, and the security services cannot do it alone. A lot of the intelligence they get are from civilian sources. So if the civilians don't cooperate with the security services, then it becomes a bit of a problem. So that is why I think going forward, the security services would have to collaborate with civil society and other stakeholders. So we would find ways and means to get the people to understand that we are representing your interests. We've left our families at home and we are here because we care about you. So if you turn your back against us, it really hurts. And that shouldn't be the case. So I think a lot more still needs to be done.
Now, I will stay on that matter because the Garu area, then you have, Boku on the other end. We seem not to have been able to clip the wings of nefarious characters. Now, I do understand, and I'm using my words carefully. There are the good people of these areas who want peace. And then there also are some of the young people who want to, perpetrate, sow the seed of discord and will not tolerate the other side. How do we deal with such instances? Because, look, there are groupings, and sometimes you see them on social media, Facebook. There are the WhatsApp groupings. And then there are those who have other channels of operating. Why do I bring this to the fore? If we're not careful, that is what insurgents take advantage of. There's a spark. Before you can say, Jack, there's a bonfire. All of these point to the fact that we must do more. But how do we deal with the situation? Because it appears, like you said, at some point, with Boku and the others, it appears to a certain extent, even our security operatives have thrown in the towel saying, you know what, there's nothing we can do.
Mm-hmm. Well, when a farmer wants to get rid of weeds on his farm, what does he do? He sprays it so it kills the very DNA, so to speak, of the weeds. If you superficially cut or trim the surface and leave the roots, what happens? It will definitely grow back. For years on end, I think our approach towards addressing the main crux of the matter, getting into the belly of the beast, is surely the conflict situation in Boku between the Kusasis and the Mamprusis. We've always deployed security personnel, we've always imposed curfews and all that, but it has failed all these years to deal with it. The main issue there is about the chieftaincy. I understand, as we speak, the Otumfuo has been asked to take it up just as he did with Dagbon, which finally brought peace to the area. But the Boku is much more complex than Dagbon. Dagbon was more about the same ethnic group, but with different gates. But this, we are talking about two different ethnic groups that have taken hardline positions so far as this issue is concerned. So I think government would have to bite the bullet and get things straightened up. But you see, when you try to please two masters at the same time, you end up pleasing none. And that is the problem. Because the thing is, if government doesn't take a hard stance, so we know who is really in charge of the place and who is supposed to perform his traditional mandate there, it becomes a problem. Because currently the area is divided. And it is even more complexing considering the nature of the place. We have one ethnic group around another ethnic group, which is caught up in the middle. You see, so it is really an issue that that needs to be looked at. The issue of the chieftaincy in Boku, okay? Then, like we mentioned earlier, small arms, light weapons. There's this issue of trust between the people and the security services, okay? We need to address, in the midst of all of this, I think this is the most important of it all. In 1994, the UNDP put together a document called the Human Development Report that centers the most important aspect of security on the individual, on the human being. Health security, water security, environmental security, political security, economic security, food security. And by food security, what I mean is not bumper harvest, but people should be able to have access to the food. There can be bumper harvest, but if you don't have the economic security, you wouldn't have the purchasing power to access that food. So government needs to do more to address the human insecurities in the area. Because, Benji, believe it or not, there are some who fight without really understanding why they are fighting. You ask them, then they say, oh, my father told me this side, they killed my grandfather. Oh, they killed my uncle before, so I need to take revenge. We have young people before age 18 are able to disassemble and assemble rifles and are able to, in some cases, engage the military in a firefight. Education there is very poor, okay, because a lot of people have left school, a lot of people have left the area. So I think that government must do more through the Human Security Directorate and the National Security Ministry to address those structural issues. And I must say, Benji, a lot of work has been done, especially by the Human Security Directorate. Just that they wouldn't be able to come out and say, oh, we did this, we sank this borehole, we collaborated with this ministry to fix this road. No, they wouldn't be able. But a lot has been done. However, a lot needs to be done to address these structural, socio-economic, and geopolitical deficits in the area that is creating that catalyst, that is creating that enabling environment for people to think that the only way to survive is through violence.
Right. Now, I mean, the mantra, see something, say something. If you see something, say something, has been, with us for quite a while now. From time to time, you'll get messages even on that. But for our brothers and sisters in these parts of, the country that are seemingly conflict prone and prone to some of these happenings with arms proliferation really high, what then would you say such people in such catchment areas should do? I pose that question because this person knows that person. And sometimes when you go and inform or speak up, later on, you will be the same person to be attacked. Somehow, the perpetrators of these actions will get to know that it is Garu XYZ who went and spoke to the security operatives, and then they come and assault that person, for which reason a lot of such people don't want to talk. How do we circumvent that situation?
I was one of the ardent admirers of that initiative, I must say. However, these communities, they are different from Accra or Kumasi. These are tightly knit communities. Everybody knows everybody. And I've said this before. You enter a community, they look at your face, and they are able to tell whether you are from here or not, and which family house you come from. I come from, for example, a big family in Tamale, a large Sani family with about 25 children, okay? Sometimes you're walking in the street somewhere, someone would see you and say, oh, I like Sani's children. There's no way anyone can steal you, okay? So it does happen. That is why I think we need to create certain structures to make it safe for people to give out information. Our witness protection regime in the country is quite poor. People are scared to give information because they fear for their safety, okay? So if you are able to come out with a solid policy that would guarantee the safety of persons who give out information,
Right.
and encourage them to do so. It would help. Okay. Secondly, there's this number that has been widely put out there, 999. If you see something and you want to say, you dial that number. But the question is, what is it exactly we have to see to say? And this is exactly what we did in the past. The Center for Human Security and Peace Building, we put together a survey. We went out there, we asked Ghanaians, have you heard about See Something, Say Something? Those who said yes, they have heard. We asked them, what is it that you have to see to say? Most of them didn't know. In fact, one of them said they were looking for persons who were bearded like Osama bin Laden. So you can imagine the level of ignorance. That is why the National Security Ministry, it's a great initiative by all standards, because it's been tried and tested in other jurisdictions and it's worked. Okay, that is why national security would have to collaborate with civil society, so we get enough experts on the ground to take the people through and make them understand what really the nuances are, how they can help, and of what benefit will it bring to them.
All right, and the final question, in 1 minute, I want you to address this. There's also our security operatives sometimes being too happy to unleash mayhem. I'm choosing my words carefully. Now, we've seen the military go again. Peace must be restored. The right things must be done. But the assault on some of our brothers and sisters, I saw some of the faces, some of the backs beaten, some of the effects of what our military officers did. I know it is all in the national interest. But at the same time, some innocent people will be caught in all of this. How can we do better in that regard?
I think the operation should have been surgical. I've read the statement by the Ministry of National Security in which they said it was an operation to retrieve certain weapons. Okay, I understand some have been arrested. I've even seen pictures of those. I think next time we have to be surgical and base our operation on the right intelligence.
Right.
Because when you go on doors and beating people, in the end, you would end up punishing people for offenses they have not, done. And so we need to be very careful, because that further widens the gap, and it has the potential of getting people not to cooperate with the security services, especially now we are talking about see something, say something. So I think it's an unfortunate event, and I'm hoping they look into it. The right lessons will be learned, and going forward, we'll do it much more clinically.
Adib, we're so grateful that you took the time to join us this morning, and we wish you the very best, sir. Adib Sani, a security analyst, joining us for this conversation. Now, on the next belt of our conversation, coming down from Garu and Tempani, well, we'll be talking about the EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair. There's a lot more coming your way on that up next on the show.